How long does it usually take you to produce a song?
Take me over like 50 hours at least.
The song that he did with me was better than every single song that I ever got mixed down in my entire life.
Welcome to my podcast, our podcast, because I want you guys involved as well. The MixedByColt podcast. I was scrolling through TikTok. You know, there's so many producers that the algorithm hits me with, and I'm like, whatever. But this guy had some actual fire that I went and reached out to him because this shit was actually fire. Jonathan Hess. What's going on, man?
Hey, man.
Where are you based out of?
Currently, I'm based out of Richmond, Virginia.
How long have you been producing for?
I've been going for about 8 years. Started when I was in middle school. Super rough, just messing around with it. And then it started to pick up as I got older, and I really found a passion in it.
So tell me your DAW journey.
My DAW journey.
Your DAW, digital audio workstation, for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah, so my DAW journey, I originally started producing in FL Studio. From there, I went to Ableton. I switched to Ableton maybe 2 or 3 years ago now. I'm an Ableton head. I will rep it till the end now. That's my DAW for real.
Same here. I've done the Logic Pro. That's what started. Well, GarageBand, Logic Pro, Ableton, and then Pro Tools. But Ableton will always be the best.
It's top, easy. There's no debate.
No. And people will try. FL does their soft clipper or the clipper on it. It does smack. So, but the workflow of Ableton, yeah. I just love. But you came from FL. You came from FL.
I did. The changeover was a lot easier than I originally thought it was going to be. It took a second. I think you used the keyboard more in Ableton, copy and paste and all that stuff. One thing I really did like about FL Studio was being able to create like in those patterns. You know how you can create like pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. You paste those patterns on the arrangement. That is one thing I did like about FL Studio, because you can create, like at least for dance music, I used to create sections, leads, bass, drums, all that good stuff. So that's definitely one thing I do miss.
Well, I'm thinking that is kind of similar to like the live section of Ableton Live, but I'm never on that page.
Me either. I'd like to be a little bit more. I feel like that really just that's all like performance-based stuff, really. I
remember when I went to Dubspot EDM's production school, I took Ableton there. We learned that. But once I got into the other page, it was like, there's no need to go there, even though you can do the similar thing. What made you get into the genre you produce?
Started producing EDM straight, like right off the rip. That's the first thing I really tried starting to do. On the way to school one day, and I heard the song Animals by Martin Garrix, like playing on the radio. And I'd never heard true dance music before. And then I heard that song and I was instantly addicted. Listened to all of his other songs and I was like, that is what I want to do. And then from there, it's just been climbing, just messing around in my room. So once I started getting older, started taking it more seriously production-wise, kind of gotten better and better as I've progressed. Still so much to learn. Definitely a lot better than when I started.
Yeah, you're a beast, dude.
Yeah.
And that's good. You're open-minded. There's so much to learn. That's how you should always approach it. That means you can only get better and you don't limit yourself.
Every time I open up Ableton, I always learn something that I did wrong in a previous song. Man, only if I knew that. It's literally a day-by-day process. You learn every single day. That's what keeps it interesting, though, you know?
Mm-hmm. With sound design, are you a guy who likes to get nitty-gritty into the synths, or are you more like, I'm going to just find the best preset I can and maybe tweak it a tiny bit?
I wish I could say I was nitty-gritty with the sound design, but for my production workflow, I like to just lay my idea out as quick as possible, because there's always another idea popping in my head. So I try to find a preset that kind of matches what I'm looking for at the end result, and then I'll go back, layer synths to make it sound more of how I want. I think all producers, when you get to a certain point, if you've done it enough, you have your little group of preset that ends up just becoming your sound. If I'm like, I need to put a bass here, I know exactly what bass I want to use for that. So that really helps too. You can make your own little folder of presets.
What kind of VSTs do you like to use? Feel free to only give one example, but you know,
I won't. I don't do anything magical. That there's tons more crazier producers out there than me. Number one VST would have to be Serum. You can do practically anything in that, 100%. Lately, I've really liked Massive X. You can do some funky stuff in it. You can get some weird sounds. It's different from the original Massive.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
I feel like
I don't know. Because I know the original Massive. I know how to use it.
The original Massive, I never really got good leads out of the original Massive. It was more of good bass sounds and stuff like that. With Massive X, your leads that come out of there can be sounding better. And even the bass sounds that you can get out of that plugin are insane now.
It doesn't sound cheesy and tacky. They stepped it up. They probably heard the complaints.
They did, even though that first plugin was massive.
Yeah.
That was so corny.
I remember Stigma on the Street was Massive sounds just sound cheap and a little artificial and not like an analog sound.
And it's the funny that you say that. That's like one of the most Skrillex used plugins.
Yeah,
he uses that plugin so much. I saw like on a live stream one day, and I was like, my mind was blown, because like you said, it was like it's a cheap sounding plugin, but I guess if you know how to turn the right knobs, you can make it sound great.
Yeah, I've been around that guy a lot. Watching him work, you can watch him and you'd be like, I kind of know what he's doing, but I think you just know when someone has the right touch. That's what you can't really like duplicate.
It's something you can't teach. It just comes. Either you have it or you don't, really. For some reason, he has a lot of it, and we're getting 2 more albums of it this year. I think he might come out with, I think it's the 4th one he listed. It was like the Skrillex one. I think that one, he's just going to throw some of the craziest futuristic dubstep the world has never heard. Like, he's going to take his original sound, basically Skrillex it, and then just drop it on the world. And I think it's going to go insane. I'm calling that right now. But that's my working theory. If you know the name Skrillex, you know people are asking him for more dubstep. And he hasn't dropped one in years. So, I don't know.
No, it's a big year. I'm actually going to see him in Red Rocks in 2 weeks. Or a week from now, whenever it is, the end of this month.
That's crazy. That's going to be fun. Did you like his previous 2 albums that he dropped?
Oh, hell yeah. That's all I listen to. I like to hold myself to a certain standard of music I ingest because I'm a mixer. I work on other people's music. His stuff is just beyond grade A. It's
beyond.
It's the only thing I want to fill my brain with.
It's hard to understand, coming from like a producer aspect, how he can make stuff sound how he does and as good as it does is insane. It's just nuts. There is a reason he is in the position he is in right now, constantly stressing us other producers out, which is good but bad.
Yeah. I know you've been having DJ gigs since I've been following you. I see you at gigs. How are those? Do you like the travel and stuff?
It's fun. Right now, I'm kind of doing more of the college scene because just that's like my age group, kind of. It's not my exact target audience, but it's a rowdy crowd and I'll never turn it down. I love doing that. Actually, next week, I'm going to New York playing a set at LPR Club in Greenwich. And I'm super excited about that. That's like my first out-of-state kind of big professional set. I'm super excited, super nervous. I've been preparing for like the past month straight.
As the big
I know,
one.
it's the big one.
I lived in New York City for 4 years, and there are times where I went to the club 3 times a week because I loved house music. I really did. So, and I still do, but not like that intense as I did. So I just went for the music. Would you say you have a certain sound?
In previous years, no. Being a producer where you're more of imitating all of your basically idols, for lack of better terms, inspirations, just imitating all my inspirations. In November, I've really started to hone in on like creating my own sound. I haven't released any music yet that I think is the Jonathan Hess sound. Stay tuned, that is coming. I definitely want to show you some stuff. But I'm getting close to it. Like I can hear it in the back, like that little voice in my brain whenever I'm making a song. It like will pop in and be like, oh, you need to use this sound because this is your sound. So I'm still discovering my own sound. It's going to continue to develop for probably the rest of my life. But I really like what I'm starting to create now. So you'll hear a lot more of that soon.
I'm excited. So I want to hear your desert plugin.
My desert island plugins?
Your desert island plugin. 2 audio plugins.
2 audio plugins I definitely cannot live without. Number 1 has to be Pro Q. That is the best EQ plugin I will ever touch in my life. I love that plugin.
Pro Q3?
Pro Q3, yeah. Pro Q3.
Yeah.
And I honestly want to say L2.
Pro L2?
Pro L2. Those are the only 2 plugins. What are your Desert Island plugins?
One would be Pro Q3. And then the other would probably be the God Particle.
How is that plugin? I get so many ads for it. I've just never like really looked into
you
it.
need to get it. Is
it like a reverb or a delay? Or like,
if you don't have it, there's no way in hell you can get your masters that loud with that much ease. It just is a freaking tank that will bring your LUFs 5 more LUFs just putting it on, and it's clean and transparent.
Wait, so Is it like a limiter compressor?
It's a bunch of analog magic, but the limiter on it can just push things and add so much body and fatness and a low end and just on another freaking level. I've tried out so many limiters. There's nothing like it. I'm not sponsored by them. I'd be sick if I was.
That would be super sick.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to look into that plugin now because you're talking some big game, Colt.
Yeah. If there was one plugin, I'd say that's the only one that you can't really put like 8 plugins to match it. It's kind of its own thing that can just, it's the God particle.
It's the God particle. It's in the name.
It's an appropriate name.
It's in the name. Come on.
Tell me a fun fact.
I'm colorblind.
Are you really?
Mm-hmm.
No way. Like partial or full or?
It's not like full black and white. I know I'm wearing a green shirt. I've never been to like the doctor for it before. It was so weird. I was in middle school and we were learning about colorblind tests on the PowerPoint. If you've ever seen a colorblind test, there's a number in the middle, like a bunch of different colored dots. And if you're colorblind, you can't see the number. And so she like pulled all of them up and I couldn't see anything. And the whole class was shouting all the number out. I'm just like staring at the screen. I was scared. I was so young. I was like frightened. I like texted my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm colorblind. I thought it was the end of my life. I thought it was the end of the world.
So what colors can't you see, or do you mix colors up?
Like purples and blues, even though like it's in my background.
Yeah.
Purple's like the most pleasant color. I think it's my wallpaper too.
If you could be with any record label, do you want to be with a record label?
In a perfect world, no, I wouldn't want to be with a record label. I'd like to have enough of an independent reach and an audience to like, I guess, make a living off of. But at the end of the day, the record labels control the music industry in itself, kind of basically. And so I feel like having those connections, like you could perform at Coachella, like being put in those opportunities positions would help you grow your career enough to no longer need a record label, if that makes sense. So I kind of feel like you have to have one in the beginning to kind of push you out to the world. And then once you've been out there for a while, you have people supporting you and stuff like that. You can really just beeline and make your own thing out of it, which I think is like a lot of artists end up doing with their careers. If I were to ever get signed to a record label, either like Universal Music Group, definitely using Universal Music Group, or Sony. I really like Sony. I feel like they have good connections, you know. My big goal is like maybe sign with a big record label. Like even right now, that song Fade Away that I have that I signed with, so it's a record label out in the Netherlands. Like even songs like labels like that, I really like more or less them being small, not like a big corporation kind of, because it's just like a lot more personable and it really doesn't feel like you're talking to someone like in the industry, you know. And I know there's a lot of smaller EDM labels. Getting signed to those is just as hard.
Definitely. And I saw that song Fade Away. Yeah, it has over 1 million streams.
That was nuts. I did not think that it would. I didn't think that song was going to do that well. I made that song when I was a senior in high school 3 years ago. Devin, the other guy I collaborated with, he put his little special touch on it. Actually, the first song that was like professionally mixed and mastered. And when they sent it back to me, I was worldwide blown away. I was like, whoa, that's how that's supposed to sound? I don't think mixing and mastering engineers get enough credit. Like Definitely. A lot of people that call themselves like a mastering engineer will just like put an ozone on their master and then bam, bam, call it a day. Even when you do that, it doesn't have like a human feel to it, you know. A lot of music, even though it's computer generated, you can still have a human feel to it, especially because I've done it with my music where I've just like thrown the AI master straight on it, kind of levels everything out, you know. It really just like makes it stiff and boring. I don't know if you've ever experienced that too. You probably don't even use that tool.
So I use not like Lander or the AI masterings, but I'll use plugins that have an AI, you know, like they'll read the track. The only one I use it for is Master Match by TR5, IK Multimedia. I got the bundle, put a reference track in, and then you play your whole track and it reads it, and then it will give you an EQ curve that will match the other track.
That's really helpful.
You can put, if you want more of the EQ curve or less, then it's my decision, my discretion if I think it helps it. An AI won't do that. I have to go, do I want to keep this on? Do I want to pick a different song to reference this song to? That's
probably a really helpful tool. I wish I utilized reference tracks more in my production than I really never do. Whenever I'm making a song, I never have that other song in mind that I'm like, hey, this would like, sounds like make it sound. I don't know if that makes any sense. That's something I really wish I did more. What's that plugin called? TDR?
Master Match by TR5, IK Multimedia. It's in the IK Multimedia bundle I got. If you buy a one-off, it's like $100 or something. But if you get the bundle that I got a few years ago. It's like $500 for the bundle.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that.
I use that on every freaking song since I've had it. I have to at least consider it. And as I've grown as a mixer, I've learned the importance of referencing. So for production, I don't think you have to focus in on referencing like that. But for mixing and mastering, you definitely do, because you play a Tiesto song and then you play your song, you're going to want it to...
You're going to want it to sound like the Tiesto song.
Yeah. And if it's anything less, people are going to judge you, whether you like it or not, because they'd rather just listen to Tiesto 3 times instead of listening to Tiesto once and your song once. They'll just keep listening to Tiesto.
I don't know if you do this. I won't listen to a song that's I feel is poorly mixed.
Oh, yeah. Hell
it just kills me. It could be the coolest song ever, and it just has like a horrible mix on it, and it sounds horrible. Like when everything has its own pocket and sits nicely, any Skrillex song ever, it just makes a world of a difference.
Huge world of a difference.
And I'll probably relate everything back to that man.
Yeah.
Because he's just that good.
Yeah. What's your future looking like? What are your like plans? Do you have anything coming up?
Within the next year, I'm playing a lot. I just turned 21 like 5 days ago. So I can finally like, start going in. Thank you. I can finally go into clubs and start DJing. So my first one is this Saturday coming in New York. So from there, I'm just going to keep spreading and meeting anyone that I can meet and pretty much just play anywhere that I can play. Number one, I love doing it. It's great practice and it'll help me get to the big goal at the end of the road. I'm
so excited for you because you just turned 21. You got years,
it's crazy.
Man. And you're already at that level. Like I'm 28. I remember at 21. I don't think I was at your level. So that's fire. So you're going to freaking...
Thank you. I'm gonna start releasing a lot more music. I'm just holding off because I'm almost done. I really just it's all just in the mixing and mastering. I can produce, but like mixing and mastering, I don't like to do that. I like mixing, but mastering, I can't do it. I've tried and I've denied it. We've had phone conversations about it.
Yeah.
So we will definitely be in touch about that.
For sure. I will get it fucking pumping.
It's so close to pumping, but it's not.
The goal is you play a Tiesto song and then you play your song and no one does a second look. Like, what the fuck just happened? No one notices.
Yeah,
there should be no complaints.
I'm starting to send like my music to a lot of DJs. I think I would probably drop dead if like a DJ was to spin my track at a festival or something like that. It's such a great way to get like yourself out there. So a lot more festival music coming.
I know it's going to happen for you. And that's going to be exciting when that happens. That'll be lit. Do you have any management, or are you looking to get any management or anything?
I have a manager. It's my friend Paul. He's the most social of the bunch, so he's really good at talking to people. I don't have any like professional management. I've had a couple management agencies reach out to me, but it's nothing I really want to go in the direction of quite yet. I'm looking to sign to one day, but also I want to continue to develop because I want to be like there in my process the whole time with logos, merch, stuff like that. I want to figure out what I want to do with that, and then I feel like I can really go to an agency and stuff like that and really show them my ideas and have them help me build exactly what I'm looking for.
Do you have a logo?
I do. It's probably the most simplistic thing ever. I made it on Canva, not sponsored. I think it's cool. I mean, for like something that I did, I'm not really like the most artistic person outside of audio, but it was not bad. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, everyone else kind of likes it. So I want to build off of that though. I don't want like artist merch to be more of like you're just repping my brand. There's so many talented artists and fashion designers in Richmond. I really want to like work with them, have them create a whole line of stuff, and then itsy bitsy smitchy just like put my logo in a little piece of it or something like that. Have that be the merch. I really don't care about that JH logo. Like everyone like walking around. Like I'd rather have like actually cool stuff. There's not really enough of that in the industry with merch and stuff like that.
What I've learned, and I say what I've learned now, is that it's way better to invest in that instead of doing the DIY, the do it yourself. And that whole mindset, see, I got a legit camera, we got Colin. It's just the start of it. I'm about to be running it up because do you know people who, I'm sure you've had teachers and stuff who can just talk for 8 hours, but it's like, all right, you probably could have said that in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know what the other rest of the filler words were. The podcast I'm trying to do is just cut to the chase, cut to the shit.
Yeah. Like you ever look up on YouTube how to do something and there's this 40-minute introduction and the last 2 minutes is them actually showing you what you need and you're just sitting skipping the whole time?
Yeah. I think there's a benefit of having a video 8 minute long, which is what YouTube likes, I think, because If you ask me to explain compression, I will tell you in 30 seconds.
I've been producing for 8 years and I don't know how to use a compressor correctly, but I can make it sound good if I twist a couple knobs.
I will change your life right now.
If you like hit me with this attack, ratio, and threshold, I'm like release. I know that like attack and release, I can visually see it doing its thing. The hardest thing for me to do, like mixing wise, is with compression and stuff like that, is I really don't know the sweet spot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to like the overall of how it sounds, and does it sound good together? No. What do I need to do? Add more compression? I'll turn like the, I mean, you produce an Ableton too, the stock OTT.
I don't really use OTT. But
no, you don't. I mean, as a mixing engineer, you probably shouldn't. But as an EDM producer, I think it's the bread and butter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the sound. I've used it, but I don't ever go, I'm going to use OTT.
What's your go-to compressor?
I have 500,000 compressors, so whatever pops into my eyesight, and I'm like, all right, that'll work. But it would be, it depends what I'm going for. To just say something quick, like I love a Fairchild. I mean, that'll always give like a fat juiciness. I like the purple compressor by BX. That's my favorite right now currently.
Really?
It's a 1176. So purple, I think, made the 1176 after or before. I don't even know why I had to say that, but it doesn't make a difference.
So if you were mixing, all right, I'm working with a synth line right here. What compressor would you grab? That purple one? Or do you have like separate compressors that you would use only for synths or only for vocals? Or do you kind of just like mix them in between based on like what you're working with?
That is such a beautiful question, because I'm going to say that this is the first thing I do is I listen to the sound. I just shut everything off and listen to the sound. What does this sound need? What's my fastest attack compressor? What's my slowest attack compressor? I'll match it up. If I just go, this is my go-to synth, then I'm chopping myself off. I could have used a better compressor, but because of my stereotype, this is going to be my go-to compressor, I'm already limiting myself. So I go very analytical on how I approach sounds. Because
that's really interesting.
Yeah. And then how I see compression. First I got to chug this for the, okay. I'm a slow chugger, but.
Oh yeah, I cannot chug.
This is how I could teach compression in 30 seconds.
Okay.
If I smash this down, fuck, I can't smash it down, dude. Okay. Say this is the audio. Mm-hmm. Smash it down and make it shorter, compress it. If I was a hydraulic press, compress the can.
Yep.
The attack is how fast am I gonna go? And then the release is, when am I gonna let off? Am I gonna let off real quick, or like wait 3 seconds and then let off? And the attack, same thing. Am I gonna go in a 0.1 millisecond? I don't know if that was 0.1 millisecond. Or am I gonna go 3 seconds and then? But
see, that I know. What about ratio? How do you explain ratio with that can?
Ratio is how, that's a little hard to explain. Like, it's, okay, here's how I can explain it. Say my hand's the hydraulic press, and you put 1 brick on. That's 3-1. But say you put 1,000 bricks on, that will be 100-1. So that's how tough it will be for the audio to squeeze back through.
Okay.
I think that was a little vague, but I can if I think about it.
I understand it.
Yeah.
Like the force, like how much compression you actually want that sound compressing. I mean, it kind of makes sense.
So 3-1's like a little slap, like, hey, get back in, get back down. And then like a 20-1's like a limiter, like brick wall. And get back down.
In the face.
Yeah. When you hit my threshold, you're getting slammed.
Done.
Yeah, you're done. You're done. Okay.
So you said you're very analytical when you're like mixing. I didn't realize how like big of a deal low end mixing was until I really started listening to Skrillex. I keep referencing him, but like his low ends, if you like listen to it live or like have a subwoofer, they're like incredible. Like the amount of detail he puts into the low end of his songs. Like I feel like he spends a lot of time with like the speakers off and just listening to the sub region of it, like getting it as clean as possible. And like you said, like the cleaner you get that, the louder you can push your song.
For hip hop songs, everything, I reference Skrillex's tracks.
Really?
the go-to for everything.
That's nice.
Because other people will probably mix a song and not reference a Skrillex track, and then you'll go play a Skrillex track and be like, yo, that bass is just on another level. Like the girth of it is just on another level. So it's very important. And then I'll go, how can I get there? And I'll do this. And then, okay, I'm getting closer. What else can I do? And I'll get there. It's a whole methodical kind of carve your way there.
It's such a process.
Yeah.
It's such a process.
How long does it usually take you to produce a song?
Start to finish, the song will probably take me over like 50 hours at least. So I start at the drop. And then once I like the drop, I'll go to the build up. And then from there, I won't do the beginning of the song yet. I'll go all the way to try to finish the rest of the song. And then I'll go back to the very beginning and like make the very beginning, like mixing and mastering my own music. And I'm not in any way, shape or form professional mixing or mastering engineer. Like my ears aren't really built for those little minute adjustments that like yours are. I'm kind of just like, does this bang? Or does it not? I feel like I kind of lose quality in my music as I'm producing it and like trying to mix it. I end up losing kind of what I wanted in the beginning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see over-processing being a thing.
Bingo.
You kind of lose that character.
You lose all dynamics. Not one dynamic exists.
Whenever I'm like about to over-process or something, I just go, yo, chill.
You have a rubber band.
You don't need to put that compressor on, man. I know you have it. It's that willpower to not do it.
If you over-process it, you could make it louder. And that's like that's like the little voice in the back of my head's mindset.
Focusing on the loud. But no, I would, because that's not how I think about it. If you get the best mix as possible, the way I think about loudness is not making things more compressed and stuff. It's like getting rid of what you don't need and using what you need. If you can do that, then you can compress the hell out of the whole thing and just go to freaking infinity.
That doesn't make sense. Every time I'm going to start over processing, I'm just going to like FaceTime you. Be like, cool.
Yeah. Like, we talked about this. You see that compressor? You see those 3 compressors in a row in that OTT?
Delete them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, take them off one by one. If you're like, all right, now it sounds worse, now it sounds better.
Yeah.
But it's also good because you should put things on, you should experiment, but then you should also experiment taking it off, which is important because a lot of people don't do that. But call it a day. We put those on and it's done. No backtracking.
I have like a horrible habit I have a ton of horrible music habits that I really should break. Number one is like, let's say I make a break, build up and drop. I'll export that. And so like, I'm obsessed with it. Like I love the music that I make. And so like, I will listen to it on repeat. And then I'll have no idea where to go with the rest of the song because I already know what this part of the song sounds like. I won't be able to change that part of the song because now it's like ingrained in my brain, kind of. It's such a bad habit that I have that I should definitely break, but I probably never will.
Yeah, you won't with that attitude. You say I never will. You're at such a good point right now. You just turned 21. Bro, you are ahead of the curve by far. I'm excited for what's to come. Yo, thanks for coming on. Jonathan Hess. Check him out on Spotify, on TikTok, on Instagram. Seriously, very talented. He makes music that you actually would enjoy listening to around other people. You don't have to like hide it and be like, it's just like you can play his stuff with other people because it's lit. So yeah, man, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me, man.